We have some NHL signings to discuss today, including some current NHL RFAs. We have a couple new 2019 draft picks signing their entry-level deals. Plus, we also have some details for some guys who won't be back in the NHL this coming year. And that's coming up next. Welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have some breaking news here on some NHL signings to discuss here today. So let's get started with the New York Rangers signing the number 2 overall draft pick for the 2019 NHL Draft, Kaapo Kakko, to his 3-year entry-level contract. Of course, it's a $925K, which is the rookie maximum, but they did include a lot of performance bonuses in this contract, which a lot of rookies don't necessarily get, or at least not to this extent. They don't have all the breakdown of the details, but they could be around games played, goals scored, points achieved. There's different metrics that they can include with that. He can earn up to $3.9 million per year, depending on how his performance goes here, and he is certainly expected to jump into the New York Rangers lineup right away here this fall and have an immediate impact. I would not be surprised to see him probably put in 20 goals and put up 40, 50 points. You never know, maybe even more. They've got a lot of great forwards there that they've acquired or have coming up with him that he could play with, and I guess we'll see how he does, but I can certainly see him having a terrific rookie year and certainly rivaling for the Calder Trophy, which is going to be very interesting next year. There's going to be a lot of great rookies, so great news for the Rangers. Nothing that's really too surprising here. We all fully expected he would get signed and start playing this fall, but the performance bonuses is certainly a nice feature for one of the top players. I assume when we see Jack Hughes sign his contract with the Devils, it'll be very similar and have lots of bonuses included here as well. The Montreal Canadiens have signed restricted free agent forward Joel Armia to a 2-year contract at $2.6 million. He played 57 games with the Habs last year, put up 23 points. He's bounced around a little bit in his career, got started with Buffalo, only played 1 game, was traded to the Winnipeg Jets and then Evander Kane trade back a few years ago. Had a few years with the Winnipeg Jets, but had a hard time kind of cracking a regular, consistent spot in the lineup, and was dealt, of course, over to Montreal last summer in a bit of a salary cap dump where they traded goaltender Steve Mason and added Armia kind of as a sweetener for the Habs to take on that bad contract, which they then immediately bought out, got some cap relief. But they reaped the benefits here from getting a pretty decent young forward in Armia here into their lineup. And of course, he did miss some time last year. Otherwise, he likely would have played more and would have come close to playing a full schedule. He was on injury reserve for almost 2 months. So if you kind of prorate the numbers out, his point totals would have been around 33 points had he played a full NHL schedule, which is kind of on par with what you've seen for other RFA signings lately, including Bruins' Danton Heinen and Alex Iafallo, who we saw yesterday. He's right in between the two there, where Iafallo got 2.4. Heinen at 2.8. So obviously Armia is just a little bit older here as well. So overall, pretty fair contract, I think. It's 2 years. He's certainly a forward who's earned some ice time in Montreal, and we'll see how this goes. But overall, looks like a pretty decent contract here for Armia and the Habs. The Dallas Stars have signed restricted free agent forward Jason Dickinson to a 2-year contract at an annual cap hit of $1.5 million. Obviously, Jason Dickinson was their first-round selection back in 2013 and has been progressing here with his development and earning more and more ice time and a bigger role here with the club. He was able to put up 22 points in 67 games last year, and I would imagine this year, hopefully, he'll continue that and see how things go for his development here. I do think Jason Dickinson will have more of an opportunity to hopefully play a full schedule this year, and we can really start to see what his full upside scale here at the NHL level is. Even if it means he'll turn into a middle 6 or a bottom 6 type of forward for the Dallas Stars, it's still a pretty fair contract. $1.5 million for a young player like him who's certainly still developing seems more than fair here, and I think this is a great deal for the Dallas Stars. The LA Kings have signed one of their 2019 draft picks, second rounder Samuel Fangemo, who's a Swedish winger playing over in the SHL, signed his entry-level contract. It's more than likely he will remain playing in Sweden over at the SHL for the coming season, as far as we know here. But obviously, this is not the first player we've seen from the 2019 draft who was not a first-round pick get signed to their entry-level contract already. We've already had a few others here that we've discussed over the past few days. So it's certainly not real common to see second, third, fourth-round players from a draft year be signed to their contract so quickly right after the entry draft, when there's still quite a few of the first rounders who haven't signed their contracts here as of yet. So the Swedish winger, who looks like a pretty decent prospect, now under contract here with the Kings. We'll see how things go, but I fully suspect he'll continue to play outside of North America for at least one more season. The Washington Capitals have signed their 2019 second-round draft selection, Brett Leason, who many expected to go here in the first round of the draft and really slipped down, going all the way down to number 56. I know myself, I really thought he probably would go into the late first round, somewhere between 20 to 30 or in that range somewhere, and he really fell down much lower than I and many other people expected. He's a bit of a late bloomer, but he had a terrific year last year in junior. He also represented Team Canada at the World Junior Championships and really come into his own here, but he's a little bit of a late bloomer, so some teams shied away from that. But he does have his entry-level contract signed here. He's actually being paid $750,000 as a base salary, but there are performance and signing bonuses included with his contract here as well. His actual cap hit will be $842,500 for the 3 years. Former Edmonton Oiler and St. Louis Blues forward Ty Rattie is heading over to the KHL. He's actually been signed to the same team where former Oilers GM and former Oilers coach Craig McTavish is going to be working for the coming season here as well. We've seen some awesome preseasons out of Ty Rattie, but he's never really been able to get it done consistently in the NHL during the regular season. He's shown a lot of potential during his time in St. Louis and Edmonton. He was drafted with a lot of expectations, which unfortunately for Rattie never really followed through. Over the past couple of years during his time in Edmonton, the opportunity looked like it might be there. He might be a top six winger for them, but just couldn't grab that role on a consistent basis and always seemed to fizzle out early on. We'll see how he does over at the KHL. I'm not sure if he'll have any other NHL opportunities in his future, but generally speaking, I'd say he's going to have to go over there and really tear it up to really get much more of an opportunity, considering how many kicks at the can he's had here. But he'll be playing over there for the coming year. And we also saw longtime NHLer with over 1,500 games played, former Pittsburgh Penguin, Stanley Cup champion on 3 occasions, Matt Cullen, announced his retirement here in a very heartfelt video announced through the Pittsburgh Penguins social media accounts. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, I recommend it here. I'll link it down in the pinned comment. It was a great video. Certainly encompasses his full career, thanking lots of people. I'd like to see more players really take an opportunity to put something like that together when they're going to be announcing their retirement, especially somebody who's not like a huge name, who's going to have a big press conference and all that. You don't only usually see that amongst like franchise players or guys that are having much more impact than a guy like Cullen. Cullen's been a guy who's always been like a middle six or a bottom six forward for a long time, a complimentary piece, but he's had a terrific career, 1,500 games played, 3 Stanley Cups, played on a variety of teams, of course, played with the Penguins, the Hurricanes, the Ducks, the Senators, bounced around with some other teams as well. He's had a major impact over the NHL, has been a great player, great teammate, well-respected guy. So best of luck to Matt Cullen, who's had a great career, and we'll see what comes next for him, if he's still involved in any way with the game of hockey here or not. I'm not quite clear what his future plans are as of yet. That is all the signings we have here for today, so certainly stay tuned for more. We'll be back once we have some more breaking NHL news. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notification bells so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.